Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Okay. This is a small group, so I'm going to make it uncomfortable for all of us. That by the time you leave this talk, we're all going to be really excellent friends because you're going to learn a little too much about me right now, but hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about yourselves as well. I'm a workaholic. I always have been. I was raised in a single mother household. My father, a genius and a prodigy, who I do not take after, passed away at 45 years of age when I was 7. And he left behind my mother to take care of 2 young girls and to pay off the brand new house they had just purchased together. The day my dad died, and many times throughout my life, actually, my mom said to me, "Christine, you have to work really hard because I can't help you. Knowledge and education are the only things that no one can ever take away from you." So I worked my butt off. I went to engineering school in Georgia Tech. I worked on a bioresorbable coronary stent for pediatric use. I did my thesis, where I went to grad school in England. I did my thesis on artificial intelligence and mitochondrial DNA quantification, and I was an embryologist for 7 years. I worked really hard. And then I turned 30. And I found myself exhausted, completely burnt out. They say the flames that burn the brightest die out the fastest. I am passionate and completely underutilized, okay? I'm my own boss. I moved out here to Vegas 2 years ago. So after I turned 30 and was completely burnt out, I quit my job without a plan, no backup. Moved out here to Vegas, and I said to myself, I deserve this. I deserve to not have to worry about work at all for at least a couple of months. I lasted 2 days before the panic set in because I do not like the idea of being broke, as you can tell. So I decided I needed to return back into the workforce, but I wanted to play a different game. I co-founded a company that I had absolutely no background in and knew nothing about. But I knew it would be okay because I knew how to work hard. And I did, until I realized for the first time in my life, working remotely, that no one was sitting behind me to tell on me if I was watching Netflix during the workday. So yes, I'm my own boss, but I'm underutilized. I could be doing more. I have to be doing more. But how can I? I'm so overwhelmed and overworked. Why? I'm sure we can all relate. Why? Because we find ourselves spending so much time on redundant tasks. We're in hour-long meetings that could have been accomplished by 5-second emails. I was a dedicated yogi, hiker, workout-obsessed, former competitive ballroom dancer, healthy food craver. But what do I find myself eating most of these nights? My husband over there can attest to the fact that after I work, I am on the couch, drinking 2-3 glasses, the whole bottle of wine, or rum. Don't get me started on rum. I love rum. I eat a lot of raw cookie dough. But it's hard because you know what? I'm in a constant state of stress. And if I could just muster a little bit of energy and willpower to do any one number of those awesome activities that I love, I would find stress relief. But I'm so tired, I can't be bothered. And I was clinically diagnosed with depression at the age of 15, a chemical imbalance that I can never outrun. And even though I'm a workaholic, I find myself fighting every single day of my life just to get out of bed. This is my lifestyle. Well wishes, good intentions, but opposite actions. Knowing that I need to eat better, but I don't. Knowing that I should be working out, but I don't. Can anyone relate to this? Yeah? This is our lifestyles, okay? And now I, like many of you, am burned out. And realize now that I'm no longer in my 20s, that I'm at significant risk of developing very severe, potentially fatal, but completely modifiable lifestyle diseases. So what are lifestyle diseases? They're non-communicable diseases associated with what? Your lifestyle. 3 lifestyle behaviors, in fact, okay? An unhealthy diet, smoking tobacco, and physical inactivity. These 3 behaviors can influence the development of diseases such as hypertension, obesity, Alzheimer's, cirrhosis, kidney failure, stroke. But all of these diseases, and by the way, those diseases make up 71% of global deaths annually. But those diseases can be managed, reduced in risk, or completely avoided just by modifying those 3 behaviors. Now, if being healthy, for your health, for your life wasn't incentive enough, let me drop some economic truths on you, okay? Nothing kills more Americans than heart disease and stroke. In 2018, $216 billion were spent from our healthcare system treating with heart disease and stroke, okay? Diabetes, $327 billion. Obesity, affecting 42% of adults and putting them at risk for so many more diseases. In America, $147 billion. And Alzheimer's, this is terrifying, because more and more people are developing Alzheimer's and at an earlier age than ever seen before. You have an increased risk for developing Alzheimer's if you're obese, if you have diabetes, if you have a history of heart disease. $305 billion projected to reach $1.1 trillion by 2050. Okay? Now let's talk about those 3 modifiers again: physical inactivity, diet, and cigarette smoking. I think I broke it. There we go. Physical inactivity, $117 billion for related healthcare. Okay. Poor diet, and I want to talk about excessive alcohol consumption in particular. And even though I love rum, I'm very guilty of this, okay? Excessive alcohol consumption is responsible for 1 in 10 deaths among working age adults. In 2010, and I don't want to know what it is now, but in 2010, $249 billion was spent to treat excessive alcohol consumption, or the health, effects by alcohol consumption. This averaged to $2.05 a drink. Now here in Vegas and New York City, where my company is located, we have $20 drinks. But don't act like you don't know where the $5 happy hour is. So if we're spending $2.05 to take care of our own health after a drink, that adds up. For every $5 spent on that $249 billion, $2 were paid for by the public. That's 40%. 40% that was on us. And cigarette smoking. It's the leading cause of preventable deaths. $25 billion in direct medical costs, okay? And 24% of Americans have at least one disease caused by smoking. These numbers, by the way, are only talking about healthcare. We haven't started to talk about how much it's costing us for technology and telecommunications and all the other fields that are related to dealing with these chronic diseases. All of these numbers are based on America. There's a reason why lifestyle diseases are also called the disease of affluence or Western diseases, because you find them more here. We live more sedentary lifestyles because of our technology and advanced transportation. We consume more dairy products than third world countries. We love our vegetable oils and sugary beverages. Our eating habits are also related to increased rates of colorectal, prostate, endometrial, and lung cancers. So are we alone in the world? Is this only going on here? Well, it was, but not anymore. In low and middle income countries, they were healthier than us. They consumed less meat and fat, less starches, but times have changed. Ever since about 2008, there's been a significant boom in these lifestyle diseases. I said this before, non-communicable diseases are responsible for 71% of all deaths globally and 85% of premature deaths. People between the ages of 30 to 69. These deaths occur in low and middle income countries. So maybe by now, we're starting to admit to ourselves that we're not as healthy as we'd like to think. We know that we need to eat better. We know that we need to exercise. We know that we need to stop smoking. But how can we? How can we be tasked to be better when those three modifiers are actually our coping mechanisms for living such stressful, exhausting lives? I said this before. I crave healthy food. I love it. I grew up on healthy food. I was raised in an immigrant mother household, and she actually was raised on a farm, so I wasn't allowed to eat junk food. The first time I had Popeyes was in college. But what do I find myself eating now? You know, I don't have a monthly food budget. I can't. I refuse. Because that would mean that I have to face the fact that I probably spend a month's worth of rent money on takeout, which I've been known to order 5 to 6 times a week. We know what we need to do. And you know what? Actually, it's funny because I love cooking. I'm actually really good at it. I've taken cooking classes all around the world. Italy, Morocco, several classes at ICE in New York City. I took one 2 weeks ago in New Orleans. I know how to cook, but I can't be bothered with it. I spend 10 hours a day seated, working. So when I'm done working, I'm too tired to cook. So what do? I pull out my phone, and I remain seated and wait 45 minutes in my chair where I just spent earlier 10 hours waiting for my food to get there. Except now, instead of my laptop, I have, I keep my laptop because, Netflix. But instead of work, now I have a glass of wine in my hand. And in those 45 minutes waiting for that food, you could say, hey, you know what? Why don't you go work out, exercise, be physically active? No. I'm tired. This is my wind down time, or rather my wine down time. And I can't be bothered to work out in the morning because that 1 extra hour of sleep is non-negotiable. And I can't be bothered to work out before I go to bed because, working out releases endorphins, and then I'll be too energetic and I can't fall asleep. So I just don't do it. And I don't smoke cigarettes, but don't get me started on the plethora of other toxic habits that I participate in. We know what we need to do. Be more physically active, eat better, stop smoking. But now I'd like to talk about a fourth modifiable behavior, mental exhaustion. Because I do believe that by addressing mental exhaustion, lifestyle diseases from our daily activities and stressors that can lead to poor choices, if we address mental exhaustion, maybe it'll help influence better choices. Let's think about first what causes our mental exhaustion, okay? Physicians aren't mentally exhausted and burnt out because they're treating and healing people. That's a reward. That makes them invigorated. I'm sure everyone can relate in their field. You love what you do for the things that you went to school for. If you tell a doctor, hey, thanks for, spending 12 years in medical school and doing your residency and all that, can you do me a favor and just do all your patient data entry for 3 minutes? Can you do me a favor and fight with medical insurance companies? They don't want to do that. They didn't go to school for that. That's what's causing them to burn out. So what causes professional burnout? Loss of autonomy? Professional purpose? Meaning? We're burnt out by a whole number of redundancies, tedious tasks. Now, what can we do to address that in a professional capacity? I believe in advocacy. Advocate for yourself, your clients, peers, and reignite the passion for your field. Like I said, physicians aren't burnt out from healing people. That gives them energy, drive to keep going. Being, physically tired after a long day and not waiting to jump into bed, that's completely different than actual burnout and mental exhaustion. There was a really great paper written in 2020 about patient advocacy as a full treatment for physician burnout. And I'm just going to name a few of these. I do believe that this chart is translatable into every single field, okay? It improves physician autonomy, improves relationships, introduces diversity, enjoyment, and interest into your normal routine. When you advocate and you make noise for things that are unjust, people start looking at you, and that's a great marketing opportunity. It'll build morale in yourself and within your company. Treat yourself like someone you love, and listen to your own advice. We already know what we need to do. I just told you how to address mental exhaustion. If you already know you need to eat better, then do it. If you already know you need to work out, then do it. If you know that you need to, put down the cigarette, that's very hard, actually, and very personal. And everyone's heard of a million different ways to quit, but you have to find what works for you. But start listening to your own advice. I have a best friend. He'll kill me if he knows that I'm talking about him. In our friend group, there are 6 of us. So my friend literally gives the very best advice. The 5 of us who listen to him are all successful. Well, kind of. We can, we're young, so we can travel anywhere we want to, whenever we want. We can buy, within reason, whatever we want. And even if relationships in the past haven't worked out, the 5 of us have experienced incredible loves because we've listened to him and his amazing advice. He never listens to his own. And sure, he's successful. He works for the Army. That's great. And he just bought himself a new house. But he'd kill me if he knew that I told you that I'm pretty sure he's only kissed one person in his life. He is 32 years old. And he talks about it all the time, how he needs to be more social. He talks. But then he goes to the bar and starts texting me that he's sitting at the bar, oh, what podcast should I listen to? What should I be doing? I'm like, how about you put down your phone and actually be social? Listen to your own advice. We know what we need to do, so do it. Now, how do we spread the word that better care is necessary? How do we market better care? I didn't tell a group of strangers that I suffer from depression just because. What I want to share with you is how I manage it. Having a better diet is certainly one of the big factors and facets of how I manage it, okay? I want you guys to think about this. Make natural colors attractive again. Carrots, salmon, berries, apples, leafy greens all provide nutrients and minerals like beta-carotene for your brain. With my depression, of course, I have quite a large routine, but it is a chemical imbalance. There are certainly different foods that have been known to regulate neurotransmitters that are linked to depression. Off the record, chocolate releases serotonin. Physical activity. Manifest your goals. I dare you to open your closet and try on your outfits from high school see if you can squeeze into your skinny jeans. Or take the plunge and buy that expensive special outfit that you've been eyeing but just doesn't, fit correctly, or you can't really justify it. Just do it. Just do it. Live a little. And make that your goal. You'll get into that outfit eventually. And as I said, smoking. This is very personal. You have to find what works for you. Because, this is much deeper. This is addiction. And you want to know that you fought your own battle. You found what worked for you. Don't give up. Educate yourself, and more importantly, educate the younger generations too. So, dealing with these 3 modifiable lifestyle behaviors, I can't say this enough, but we already know that we're killing ourselves with our actions. We know what we need to do. We might be wealthy in riches and experiences, but if health is our wealth, then we're literally drowning in debt. And like I said, sure, there are $20 drinks here in Las Vegas, but if we, as the public, you and I, are accountable for 40% of the budget that goes forward to treat excessive alcohol consumption and a number of other diseases, I don't want to be a part of it, even if someone else is buying the drink. Thank you very much. Can I take any questions? Yes.
How you doing? My name is Aaron Warwick. First and foremost, amazing presentation.
Thank you.
I'm your best friend. My 30th birthday is Saturday, so I understand about the pressures of wanting to be successful and hit goals and just the expectations we put on ourselves. My question to you is, what are some of the cultural impacts that influence lifestyle diseases that you may have noticed? Just any thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, what was the last thing you said? That we should
cultural influences on lifestyle diseases.
That's excellent. And thank you for the question. So like I said, I grew up, I'm Filipino, and when I was 7 years old, I watched I was 7, this is unfair. I watched a terrible food documentary. Okay, so at 7, I decided to become vegetarian, and my mom let me. And she was raised on a farm, so she, didn't know how to feed me, really, except for salad. So I was lucky. Also, being that she was raised on a farm, I ate a lot of fresh, healthy Filipino food. I wasn't even allowed to have chips in the house. That was blasphemous and sacrilegious. But this is very difficult. We already know that there are a large number of countries out there whose diets are known to be filled excessively with sugar, right? Which actually, by the way, I just want to interject really quickly. For diet, make natural colors again. I want to mention, since I know a lot of you are in the food industry, we need to find a way to make beet sugars and isomalt more prevalent in foods because it doesn't cause an insulin spike. But I would say that if your home life puts you around a cultural diet that's not necessarily healthy, but you still need to be respectful and eat, after you eat, I would go over to, let's say, my mom and say, oh, hey, this cake was really delicious. I wonder if maybe it would taste, how would the taste be impacted if we used beet sugar? Look for those alternatives. And I'm a very persuasive person, and I do this by allowing people to think that it was their own idea. So I would say, Mom, oh, try this beet sugar. Remember when you used to make me beet juice all the time? Like, I think it would taste really good with this cake, with this leche flan. Or if there's something that's very fatty, find an alternative and use Earth Balance or Smart Balance, something that uses a different type of fat. Gift it to that person. Say, I loved when you made whatever, these cookies, these cakes, whatever. I wonder if the taste would be any different if we used this substitute. Probably not. I probably wouldn't be able to tell because you're such an excellent cook. But just maybe, I wonder if you could show me how to do that. I think, honestly, that education is your best friend when it comes to that. Finding the alternatives, making it flattering. I'm not telling you to give up junk food. I'm telling you to be more mindful of it. Or maybe if you are eating junk food, then, jump on the treadmill. There's always kind of a balance to it. Yeah, thank you for that question. Anyone else? Thank you.